Well, hi everyone. Welcome to our Empower Hour. My name is Jenny, and I've been with Project Glimmer for almost 10 years. And prior to that, I was at a company called L'Oreal, which you're going to hear a lot about today. Our Empower Hours are really meant to share different careers with you all, learn about companies, and really think about all of the cool and amazing jobs that you can have. So we have a really exciting Empower Hour today focused on sustainability. So I'm not going to talk too much at all. I'm going to hand it right over to a dear friend of mine, Shannon, and she is going to introduce the panelists and share all about L'Oreal and the sustainability team. So Shannon, over to you.
Hi everyone. I'm so happy to be here and be with you all. I don't know what slide is up at the moment, but I'm hoping that it's mine. Yes, it's me. So to tell you about me, I am a director at L'Oreal here in the USA for sustainability. So I work for a team called L'Oreal for the Future. So does everyone on the panel today. Previously, I worked at Unilever. I was in sustainability there too, and prior to that, I was at the Walt Disney Company, and I had a stint in the government too. As you can hear from my accent, I am from London. So I was born and raised in London in the UK, and I moved here to be in the sustainability team at L'Oreal about 4 years ago now, and it's been really exciting. And just to tell you a bit about my hobbies and my personality, I really love to cook and I love to go out and eat food. And that is pretty much what I do. But I also really love reading and history and everything. And I am obsessed with Harry Potter. So that's why the little Harry Potter logo is there. So that's me. And it's such a pleasure to be here, as I mentioned. And you're here to hear about L'Oreal and specifically sustainability today, which we're so excited to tell you about. So if you move on to the next slide, we can give you an overview of L'Oreal. I'm sure everyone knows what it is already, but just to give you a refresher.
Shannon, you're
Shannon,
muted.
you're-
Oh, I accidentally was muted. Hello. Thank you. So you saw with that really cool video, how cool L'Oreal is. And you saw at the end that it had a allusion to sustainability. And that's what I'll talk about for a second here. So as this slide shows, we have four pillars of sustainability at L'Oreal, but let's go back to the beginning and what sustainability actually is. So every single one of you has used a shampoo, a lotion, a lip gloss, maybe even today. And behind that product is this huge industry that touches water, forests, farms, communities, and millions of workers around the world. So, what sustainability is the question that can we keep doing these big things without wrecking the planet or the people on it? So, that's it. That's what sustainability is. And essentially, it's a responsibility. I like to think of it in three circles that work together. So, it's planet, which is essentially not destroying what we all share. So, clean water, healthy forests, people. So, making sure everyone is treated fairly, whether that's farmers or factory workers or you, us, me, and then business. So, can we do all of this and still innovate and grow? Because change only happens if companies can survive. And sustainability in beauty means making products that are beautiful and responsible, not one or the other. So, in beauty and in L'Oreal, in the video you saw, what is sustainability? It's ingredients. So, where do the ingredients come from? Are they harvested responsibly? Water, because in the beauty industry, we use a lot of water to make and think about washing your hair and rinsing products. Packaging. So, is a bottle recyclable? Is it made from recycled plastic? Can we eliminate packaging entirely? Manufacturing. Are the factories powered by renewable energy? Are workers safe? Transportation. For example, how far does a product travel in a truck before it reaches the shelf? And can we cut that down? And then end of life, which is what happens when you throw a product away. So, this slide tries to address the challenges that the beauty industry faces. And that is the carbon emissions that contribute to climate change, ingredients that come from nature, so forest farms, oceans, beauty packaging, like I mentioned, if it ends up in landfills, it's a problem. It's rarely truly recyclable. And then the millions of people we touch, whether farmers, factory workers, suppliers, or you, as mentioned. And here's how we're trying to solve for it. So, number one is trying to steward the climate transition, which means addressing the urgent need for climate action. Number two is safeguarding nature. So, highlighting all that we do to protect and restore biodiversity, meaning all living things and water. Driving circularity, so trying to transform our approach to packaging and waste, and some more supporting communities. So, empowering the people our business touches, from our employees and suppliers to broader society. So, why are we here today? Because we want to talk about why this could be your career one day, and to speak to some of my dear colleagues, including me, whose career is already. So, we want you all to know that there's no single sustainability job. This field needs scientists, lawyers, data analysts, storytellers, supply chain experts, engineers, marketers, community advocates, finance people, you name it. So, if you care about the planet and you're good at something, there is a place for you in sustainability, whether in L'Oreal or elsewhere. So, careers in sustainability can look like a formulation chemist who develops waterless products, or a data analyst who tracks a company's carbon footprint. You could be a sourcing specialist working directly with farmers in whatever country we source the ingredients from. But today we'll be hearing from my wonderful colleagues who show there are even more career options in sustainability. We've got Sophia, a communications manager who makes sure our company's sustainability story is true, a green science researcher, Erin, who develops formulas that perform beautifully and are safe for people and the planet, and a social impact strategist, Brenna, who writes the vision for how our company shows up for communities and workers and society every day. And these skills travel. So if you care about sustainability, you can work here. A startup, a nonprofit, a government, the world needs this expertise everywhere. So now we get to hear from them. And I'll go around and ask each of you to introduce yourself. So if we start with Erin, if you want to tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Erin. I lead sustainability and green sciences at L'Oreal Research and Innovation Team in the U.S. labs. So effectively, I'm supporting the U.S. brands and U.S. labs find solutions, technologies, ingredients to create formulas that are more sustainable and help us transform all of the products that we sell in the market. So a little bit about me. I'm originally from Northern Virginia, a Washington Nationals fan, in case anybody follows baseball. In undergrad, I went to MIT, so I lived in Cambridge for 4 years, and I grew up swimming. So I've been swimming since the age of four, and I actually swam at MIT as well. And then I moved into the working world. I always loved math and science. To be honest, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, but I think, talking to a lot of people at MIT, I realized that product development, just was amazing because it combined a combination of science, math, analytics, but then also that connection with people and the consumer. So I started at a company, Reckitt Benckiser, which is a British company, and I worked for them for almost 15 years. So doing everything from home fragrance products to disinfectants like Lysol, to even toilet cleaners. So I worked on, oh, and personal care as well. I guess, yeah, I covered a lot of different products, and I lived in Yorkshire, which is why you see the white flower there on the screen, and the submarium. And then I also got a chance to live in China for a year and a half as well. So I moved around the world, and then I moved back to the US. And from there, I had the opportunity to join L'Oreal. So I started with L'Oreal in their hair care our research and innovation team. So I was leading professional product development. So you can see there some of the Redken products that I worked on, and I used to work. It was really cool also with the salon. So we'd formulate in the lab and then connect a lot with the salon to make sure that our products, were actually being, used by the people who are going to use them, during development. Then I also went to Columbia Business School just kind of on the side on Saturdays. So I kind of studied, while I was working. And then most recently at L'Oreal, about I guess a year and a half ago now, I got a chance to join the sustainability team in the role that I'm in now, so driving green science transformation. So I came back actually after maternity leave. So you can see I kind of started in sustainability later in my career, but it was something that I was really passionate about in my role when I was developing formulas for hair care and styling. And so I'm excited now to get to work on this full time and to help others, find solutions. And I guess a few other little things. I've got a 17-year-old stepdaughter who's going to NYU, so I had to throw that in there. She's super excited. And then I also have a little son who's almost two, so we love to explore outside on the weekends in the park. So yeah, that's a bit about me and my journey to L'Oreal and sustainability.
Thanks, Erin. Should we move on to Sophia? No, Brenna.
Hi everyone, my name is Brenna McCarthy. I'm a social impact and sustainable business consultant at L'Oreal. I focus right now mostly on our partnerships with our nonprofit partners, how we work with the community, really how we give our charitable dollars away. So I helped the team think about how L'Oreal is using philanthropy dollars and partnerships and volunteerism and all these tools to help support our larger sustainability goals and our ability to keep growing our business, but doing so in a responsible way. A little bit about me. I grew up in Massachusetts outside of Boston. So here's the city skyline here. I love the water and the ocean and have lived by the beach my whole life. I went to Northeastern University, go Huskies. One of the first roles that I held, as you can see here with this little collage, I've worked at a lot of large and well-loved brands and well-recognized brands. And one of the first places that I worked, where I realized that I could, in my role, have a really significant impact on communities and how a big business and a big brand improves the lives of a lot of different people in a lot of different ways, was my time at Converse. So Converse is owned by Nike, so already under a really large umbrella of trying their best to make a difference in the world. But one thing that Converse did was really take the youth voice and make sure that it was always thinking as much as it could about what impacted youth the most and what they were thinking about and how we could support their efforts and amplify their voices. So that for me was a huge turn in knowing that this is the type of work I wanted to continue to do. I did that in a little bit different of a way for a company called PVH, which owns Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger. I worked at a couple other big brands and continuing to learn more about this broader umbrella of sustainability and social impact. And I am now doing this type of work for L'Oreal and the L'Oreal for the Future team. I have here a little bit about myself. This picture is, if you see, she's in there in the book stacks. I absolutely love reading and books, and there's no place I love more than a little independent, warm and cozy bookstore. This is a picture of my daughter exploring the children's section at our favorite local bookstore. And I love reading, and I love reading with her and with her little brother. And this little truck that you see down below is something I keep in the back of my mind at some point in whether it's, I don't know what phase it will be or when this will come, but I really hope to own a little truck like this that I can drive around to different places, farmers markets and beach communities, or wherever people are in need of books and share a few books that I love and that I think others would find interesting on my little book cart. So I really try to never lose sight of some sort of little dream or aspiration, even if it seems like it doesn't fit with what I'm doing right now. But that's a little bit about me.
Okay, so take it away, Sophia.
Hi everyone, I'm Sophia Christensen and I do sustainability communications and engagement at L'Oreal. So I am originally from San Diego, but very Danish, I like to say. Both my parents are from there, so definitely have a part of my tie there and go back and speak Danish. So love Denmark. And then I went to UC Berkeley and I ended up majoring in business administration at the Haas School of Business. And within that, I just wanted to say that like I came from San Diego. I did not know a single person in my hometown. I'm like from a smaller area of San Diego that was going to this like big school. And I made so many friends. So if any of you were in that position, like I knew no one going in. And you can see here, I like put all my friends that I was like so lucky to meet. And then from there, I made another jump, not really knowing anyone, and moved to New York for this job at L'Oreal. It was my dream job. I love sustainability, and I like I've seen many of you in the chat also love beauty. So it was kind of an offer I couldn't turn down. So a week after I graduated, I moved to New York, and now I once again have made so many wonderful friends, and I'm so happy and lucky to be here. And honestly, now I like to work out in my free time and then eat all of the amazing restaurants that they have in New York. So that's a little bit about me.
Great. So now we'll talk about sustainability a bit more with some questions from my side. But I know we didn't get to your piece on the product life cycle, Erin. So if we could go a bit back a couple of slides to the product life cycle, Erin, I wonder if you could take the girls through what that is.
Yeah, sure. So I think a lot of people, when they think about sustainability or products, you're thinking kind of about the ingredient piece, but that's really only one aspect. There's so many stages that we think about when we're developing, and then, the life cycle once the product gets into the consumer hands. So we're starting, at the very beginning phase on the design. We're thinking about formula and ingredients, how the consumer is using the product, the packaging ingredients, the packaging design, where it's sourced from, all the way through the manufacturing plant, energy usage, and then of course, like before the consumer touches it, what's happening in terms of advertising, the activation plan, as it's called on this slide, but all of like the touch points before you actually, get the product in your hands, that experience with retailers and, our partners there where we're selling the products, how it's actually shipped and stored and supplied, and then, of course, the usage, how it's being consumed, and then what's happening when it's being disposed of. And then we also look at all of the other, what we call transversal aspects of product development. So, you can see things like, yeah, the offices and campus, how is the energy usage there or water usage there? Other things like, yeah, data and AI, managing that piece, the sourcing, finance. So we actually actually look at sustainability from a very holistic aspect in terms of not only the products themselves, but also all of these other supporting functions, that are needed. So I think it's really cool. Like Shannon was mentioning, you can work in sustainability almost in any aspect of the company, and I think that's one of the things that's so cool about it. It's everybody is working together to really, make this change and to drive more sustainable products. You don't have to be the formulator like I am. So yeah.
Thank you, Erin. That's such a good segue into the questions I had now. So more about sustainability. And what we really want to get across to you is the multitude of careers that you can have in sustainability, that you don't necessarily just have to be a scientist, etc. So with that in mind, I'll go to Sophia with my first question. And Sophia is a communications manager, if you remember. So my question is, when a company says it's sustainable, how do you know it's actually true? And what is your job to make sure that L'Oreal is one of the ones that's telling the truth?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, really, in everything that we do, we absolutely validate it. As someone who does communications, like there's several steps of making sure that anything that gets to the public is probably validated by at least like five experts and probably also our legal team. So, I would say definitely for a company like L'Oreal, anything that's said externally has been verified. And I think that really like the challenge is bringing transparency to consumers. Erin can probably speak more to this, but we evaluate every single one of our products with a spot tool that evaluates it on environmental impact. And then we also have a lot of visibility into our supply chain, our suppliers, and like the different areas. And we do a lot of work, and you'll definitely hear more about all of that. But I think that really the way that we make sure that we're telling things that are accurate is that we really verify it with the experts like Erin or Brenna. Like I work with them every day, and Shannon as well, to make sure that we're getting the most up-to-date information. And yeah, just validating it. So we do lots of testing and stuff like that. So
Thank
yeah.
you, Sophia. Now I'll go to my question to you, Brenna, and that is, so a lot of girls think you need to be a scientist or maybe that, engineering to work in sustainability, but your job is totally different to that. So what skills do you actually use every single day?
Let me say that I am as far from a scientist as anyone could even possibly imagine. It was an area of study that didn't come easy to me, nor did mathematics. And I think I always worried that some of the things I was interested in, I didn't have the natural skill set. And as much as I tried and as much as I read, it just wasn't coming naturally. So I stepped back and thought about what did come naturally and where my skills that I could harness and grow are. And that was in relationship management. So, how you're working with people, how you're working on a team. I use those skills every day. I use a lot of communication skills as well. That's where my background is as well in my education. And that can be very different from some of Sophia's examples. It can be thinking about how to work through conflict, how to think about partnerships and what each side needs to be successful. It can be as simple as thinking about something maybe technical that Erin works on and how to translate it so that more people understand it. So, really, how to bring people together. And I think that that's an underlying area that a lot of people call soft skills. So, it's how to work with each other, how to be a good team member, how to communicate, how to make sure that you're explaining why you may feel one way or think something, and then bring people along for that ride. So I think that those are some skills that I use every single day is thinking about how to really be on a project with more than one person. So thinking about teams.
Thank you, Brenna. Um, Erin, I have a question for you, and that is, can you name one ingredient sitting in someone's or anyone's purse right now that has a sustainability problem and what science is trying to do about it?
Sure. I think, interestingly, just generally, sometimes there's a bit of a myth around whether something natural often, can be better, but isn't always better for the environment. So I think it's one of the reasons why we look at full life cycle analysis, and it's not just whether something is, bio-based or natural, but also looking at what is the energy use, behind the manufacturing? Is it sourced sustainably? So I think for me, it's important not just to look at that one attribute, but thinking of all of those aspects to ensure that the final product is actually more sustainable, not just like a natural or organic. And then I guess if I want to be specific about an ingredient, I think one that has an interesting history, and now I think more and more in the industry, it's really shifted, but squalane, which is a moisturizing ingredient, I'm sure many of you have seen in your skincare. It's an emollient that softens and yeah, helps your skin stay plump. And back in the 1900s, it used to come from Wales. And then, there's been a lot of progress. So in the early 80s, so probably before most of you guys were born, there was a lot of research on, then how do we, pull that from fossil-based sources. So yeah, no longer animal, which is a step in the right direction. But now actually scientists have found ways to use biotechnology. So actually creating that same ingredient by feeding sugars from either sugar cane or olives, for instance, to actually create the same molecule. So it's actually much more sustainable than a fossil-based source. So it's really cool to see how you can take that exact same ingredient and then the sourcing, can completely change the profile.
Thank you, Erin. So those are my questions that I planted to tell you more about sustainability. But now I think we can go into the chat and start answering some of your questions. So I'm taking a look. And the first one, I think I'll give to Sophia. Sorry to put you on the spot, but that is what advice? Actually, we could all answer this one. I'd like to answer it myself, but Sophia, you go first. What advice would you give to consumers to ensure that they are purchasing sustainable makeup?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that there's definitely a lot of different things you can look for. For example, we partner with Amazon. If you buy it there for their retail badging, we honestly partner with most of our retailers. So on Amazon, they have like a little leaf. If you've ever seen it, it's called Climate Pledge Friendly. You don't need to know the name, but you can search by anything that has a leaf, and that'll probably be a sustainable product. And those have to go through very extensive third party validation. So trust me, if it's on there, like it's been validated like 10 times over. I would say that we similarly have similar programs with our retailers in Target and Ulta. So you can definitely shop by that. And then I would also say that you can look on the back and see if there's like a cradle to cradle symbol. That's one of the third party verifiers we work with. And I think that that'll be on a lot of your products. Honestly, I would love to hear what everyone else says, but I think there's like a lot of symbols that you can look for if you keep an eye out.
Yep. Brenna, do you have an answer to that one?
Mine is still a bit more about overall like corporate reputation. When you think about the brands that you know or you think you love, when you think about their reputation, how they show up on social media, and one of the key pieces that we pride ourselves on is who we partner with and the type of programs that we invest in. So this is someplace where I am really, really proud of L'Oreal. I've worked at other companies that didn't do this in the same way. L'Oreal really is specific about what type of nonprofits they partner with. They invest money, time, and resources into programs that support female scientists. We have an incredible program called For Women in Science, and it's a fellowship program that gives really large grants to postdoc women scientists who are just changing the world with their research. And that type of engagement isn't easy for a big brand to do and to do transparently and really authentically as L'Oreal does. So I think that that's something to look for too. Who is a brand that you like partnering with? What nonprofits? What celebrities? What type of investments are they making in their communities? That's another way to sort of gut check the type of rules that they're following internally and the type of brand that they want to be externally.
Thanks, Brenna. Erin, is the ingredients question, so I know that you might have a good answer.
I think you're muted.
Oh, you're muted, Erin.
Yeah, sorry about that. Just what to look for in terms of the products. I mean, I think I echo what Sophia said. I think, yeah, having a third party, verification, yeah, is definitely can be a really key indicator. I think, yeah, go to the brand's website as well. A lot of times, the brands will have more information on the ingredients. So, like I know for L'Oréal Paris, for instance, yeah, we have a lot of information there actually talking about the ingredients and the sourcing. So I really think online is a really good or can be a really good source, depending if it's coming from the brand or a third party or, say like a retailer verified kind of badging system. Yeah, so those are the things I would recommend. But it's, yeah, not always straightforward as reading the ingredient list because, like I said before, sometimes the sourcing will matter versus just the ingredient itself.
Very true. The next question is for you, Sophia, and that is how does L'Oreal stay relevant with Gen Z audiences?
This is great. I actually just posted a response to this question, so you can elaborate on it. I think that our teams and our marketing teams do a phenomenal job of staying relevant with Gen Z audiences. And honestly, I could probably answer this question for hours and hours. So I'll just keep it simple that L'Oreal is a very data-driven company. We have lots of consumer insights, and I think that I'm Gen Z, so I think that we have Gen Z in the workforce as well. So I think that really like our marketing teams are pros at staying on trend. And I heard one of them say today that they like pride themselves on being chronically online. So I think that they're just really good at like seeing what's happening. And I mean, I think the beauty of working at a company like this is I am one of the consumers and I am Gen Z. So while I might not be representative of all of Gen Z, I definitely have a bit of a pulse on maybe what's happening. And I think with our large employee population, we're able to kind of stay on top of that and do some fun campaigns. Hopefully, you've seen some of them. Hopefully, you've seen some of your favorite influencers use them, or celebrities, or different partnerships pop up. Like it can be anything from like a Snow White partnership with Essie to like one of my favorites was that Kendall Jenner just did an ad for the Devil Wears Prada 2, which I personally loved. So I was excited about that.
Yep. Okay, Brennan, next question is for you, and that is how does L'Oreal support communities, whether that's diverse communities, young voices in the industry, your impact communities essentially?
We do it in a lot of different ways. I mean, I think that one way that any company can support communities is through charitable giving. So, giving away dollars. And that is something that we do a lot through nonprofit partnerships. We have a really, really robust employee volunteer program. And that's something that I encourage everyone to think about when they're looking for jobs at companies too. When you are working for a company that gives you time off to volunteer in your community or matches donations that you make with your personal finances. That's another way that you have the power to support the communities, the missions, any area that matters to you. It's a really important way for you to be a piece in that larger effort. I mentioned a couple signature programs that we do. We have a number of funds that are specific to women, to climate change, to a lot of issues that matter to us. I think that we do everything with such intention that it's this team itself too, as we all really try to think about how our work can contribute to a bigger picture.
Thanks, Brenna. Looking at the next questions. Uh, Erin, for you, is there an it sustainable ingredient at the moment? And as part of that question, does organic mean sustainable?
Trying to think of it sustainable ingredient. I mean, the latest, I mean, I feel like maybe it's passé now, but hyaluronic acid has been
Yeah.
everywhere. And yeah, we have that again. It's from a sustainable source in our L'Oreal products. So that's one that pops to mind immediately. Yeah, organic is not correlated with sustainable. So I think again, that's one aspect of how the product is produced, and there's there's certain criteria around I guess the feedstock or how that's grown, but then it doesn't actually look at the full life cycle like I was explaining, like the energy usage or other aspects about land occupancy and management. So I think it's much broader picture than just organic.
Yep, I agree. So I also saw, and I know Sophia answered in the chat too, but there was a question on, do we think there'd be a way to make zero carbon footprint products? And I think, we wish. It's such an incredibly difficult journey. Um, that is everyone's hope for the future who works in a sustainable team like us. But growing ingredients to all the way through to make a product, all the way through to making the product to a customer using recycling the bottle, using our product, every single piece of that involves energy and an emission essentially of some sort. So there's so much to think about. Do we wish that we could have absolutely zero carbon footprint? Absolutely. And we're trying. And we're trying with those four pillars that you saw, which are about emissions, regenerative agriculture, green sciences, our offices becoming renewable, etc. So we're really working on it, but we appreciate champions who can help us along in the journey, and that's what we try and do every day in our job. So hopefully that answers the question a little bit more, that we're trying to answer it with our four pillars. But I can put more detail in the chat to answer that question. Looking at other questions. Okay, so another one for you, Erin, I'm sorry. How do we keep up with developing technology and the use of chemical involvement in producing products?
So for that, we work with a lot of partners, whether that's suppliers, startups, universities, we work globally to really try to have that network and understand the latest and greatest technologies. And then, yeah, depending on, sort of the level of maturity, then we have programs where we can partner, say, with startups to actually help accelerate and fund them to get them to a stage where they're commercially viable. And then, yeah, being, I guess, a first mover from our side, then that also helps, the industry to move. So I think that's an important step, I would say. A lot of it is about those external partnerships and really, yeah, the ideas are coming sometimes from inside, but more often, it's working with others.
Thanks, Erin. I saw another question about youth voices in L'Oreal, I believe. And I think I just wanted to answer that to say that we have a very active program in the United States. In fact, I've seen a lot of messages in the chat about careers at L'Oreal. So I just wanted to tell you about a few things that L'Oreal offers. We have a summer internship program, which is like an applications run, and I can get more info on the dates there, which is a full summer job at L'Oreal in our various offices, and that the applications for that are for rising seniors, and it's a paid internship, which is super fun. We also post internship have a management trainee program. There's also a program called Seeds, and I can ask Jenny to send the links to all of these things if needed. We also have innovation competitions. So if anyone's interested in like thinking of something sustainable for the future that you you think is worthy of being used by L'Oreal, we would love to hear about it. So I just wanted to plug a few things there because I see a few questions in the chat that L'Oreal does, but there is so much more that we can talk about more. Which yeah, like I said, can plug in the chat. Okay, next question. This is a good question, and I'm not sure who can answer this. How do we keep things affordable while also supporting vulnerable groups and using sustainable resources? I don't know whether Sophia or Brenna, you might be able to touch upon that. I can if you can't.
Shannon, let me hear what you have to say because I think it's a multi-part question.
Yeah, it's true. I think so. The question is how to keep things affordable while also supporting vulnerable groups and using sustainable resources. So I used to work for a little while in CMI, which is Consumer Marketing Insight. And what especially companies like L'Oreal look at is what products can support the general public with the concerns that they have, whether it be for their hair or their face, at a price point that works for the business and also is affordable for the consumer. And I think a lot of L'Oreal brands, especially in one of our divisions called CPD, which means consumer products, are sold in channels which are seen as affordable to consumers. We do have lots of luxury brands, but we do our brands like CeraVe, La Roche-Posay, and L'Oreal Paris even are always kept at a price point that is worthy and best for our consumers. And that's what I used to learn in. I don't do that much in sustainability because we're not in charge of pricing. Obviously, brands are. But in marketing insights, we'd always compare ourselves with other brands and making sure that we were affordable and selling in channels that people have access to across the United States at affordable prices. I've answered that first bit, I think, hopefully, Brenna.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's also, there's a number of programs that we're trying to replicate in the US. Beauty for a Better Life. There's, a number of programs and platforms that the L'Oreal Foundation thinks about in terms of bringing resources to communities in need. So thinking about how to give more access to the products. So I think that echoes, Shannon's response as well.
Thank you. Okay, question for Sophia. What advice would you give about trying to grow a loyal audience?
I do not have an audience, but I would
Sophia the
just,
influencer.
yeah, I was like, I'm not an I would say think about who you engage with. What I do hear about from our marketing teams is typically like the algorithm pushes videos to people that watch similar videos to you. So engage with content that you're interested in, and then you probably will like reach people that are interested in similar things. And I think Brenna actually said this, but I think just staying authentic, I think that people like people at the end of the day always. So if you can be personable and infuse some personality or whatever it is that you are good at and have to offer, I think that that's probably the best way to go. But I would also like to disclose I do not have a following, so I don't know.
Do any of us? I don't think any of us do. So you tell us in the chat how to get a following if anyone knows, because I'd love to know. Um, Erin, the next question is for you. Can creating a sustainable version of an existing product degrade a product, or it's a product's original formula?
So we prioritize the safety, quality, and performance. That's the number one thing. So we have this extensive testing and research program where anytime we're looking to make a shift in the sourcing or another aspect of the product for sustainability reasons, those other elements are maintained and tested. So no, it will not be degraded. Good news.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to add to that also, and that is we have R&I, obviously Erin works there, testing centers in L'Oreal, and I had the fortune to go and visit one recently. And for any new ingredient, and most, and you, I think we can argue now that no ingredient will be added to, I don't want to, no ingredient will be added that's going to be dangerous ever, or, to a product. But the extensive research that we do, when I visited the facility, we had weather simulators, we had real life consumers coming in and putting product on their faces, etc., etc. There is so much research that you wouldn't believe, and also you can get a career in this. I even thought about this um, in going into researching how good a product is and how effective it can be. And there will never be a product that L'Oreal releases that would have an ingredient that would degrade the formula or make it worse, because we do such extensive research about making sure a product is truly, working, good, wanted, smells good, looks good, has good feel. Everything is thought about, which is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
just to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm just looking at the questions.
I
Go
was
on,
just
Erin.
gonna, yeah, build on it and just to give an extent. I mean, there's like hundreds of tests, and like you say, it's not only, there's stuff that happens instrumentally or in the lab, but then more of it, also happens, yeah, with actual people, once it's at that stage. So it kind of goes through every different, touch point, and like we showed that journey of, the product. It's not only, the consumer use, it's also thinking about the stability over time. How it works with the packaging. So yeah, that whole journey that we talked about in terms of sustainability, we're doing tests at, every point, throughout that life cycle to make sure the quality and the performance are there.
Yeah. And Erin, do you know how long it would take to create a product? I mean, I know there's not a
Uh,
definitive answer, but it's a long
it
time, I think.
it depends. I mean, I think if it's like a minor tweak, it can be faster. But yeah, some of the like new ingredients that we work on, it can be, 10, 20 years, in the making for something that's, completely new. But yeah, if it's something where it's a known thing with a different source, that, that might be faster, more like, 1 or 2 years. So yeah, a huge range, depending on what it is.
Thanks, Erin. Brenna, I want you to elaborate on the STEM thing because I know that you love that sort of thing. So you're going to talk a bit about, I mean, I know that we have a hope one day that we can have a youth-focused STEM program, but I don't know whether you want to talk a bit about, for women in science. I know it's not the same, but it's in the same field. You're on mute, Brenna.
I'm glad. I was saying I'm just finishing a comment response here. Okay, great. Yes, so one thing to note is that the team that we work on and that we manage the resources for is North America based, specific to the US. But one thing that's exciting for my role in particular is L'Oreal at the group level, meaning headquartered in France on an international scale, has the L'Oreal Foundation. So the L'Oreal Foundation has a number of absolutely incredible programs, funds, ways to request sponsorship and scholarships, etc. And what we're trying to do in the US is bring some of those programs that can be scaled in our area and replicate them there. And so the For Women in Science program I talked briefly about, and it's for the postdoctoral level female scientists. But another program that is run at the international level that we don't yet have in the United States is called For Girls in Science. So that is a similar focus area, but with a much younger age group we're where we're looking to support younger girls who may be interested in STEM fields, but not sure what direction a career would take them in. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, but we're hoping to replicate some of those programs. Also, any number of the partnerships that we have with nonprofit organizations. I'll name a couple. We have a large partnership with American Red Cross, with a couple of California-based organizations like Surfrider and Heal the Bay, and this incredible organization called Solutions Project. We do some smaller scale work. We do a lot of backyard partnerships in New York City. But one thing we try to do is find partnerships that have a focus on youth change makers and empowering young people in the STEM area within that broader partnership. So it may not be as forward facing as a For Girls in Science STEM program just yet. I'm hoping we get there really soon. But what we try to do is invest within these broader partnerships for programs within those larger organizations that are focused on a younger age science, technology, engineering, math initiatives, or encouraging advocacy and education in that area.
Thanks, Brenna. So I've seen a couple of questions on ingredient changes and recalls, etc., which I'll hopefully help to answer. So, if there's an ingredient change in one of our products, we continuously, well, the reason why there would be an ingredients change would maybe because we have our team of scientists who continuously monitor new data, new scientific data. And if there is a suggestion that an ingredient could be improved or replaced with a greener alternative, we can reformulate, or a better alternative, we should can reformulate. And to be transparent, everything's on our websites, on our brand websites. We've got a platform called Inside Our Products where you can see that. And you can see why. I'll put the link in the chat, and you can see, why an ingredient is used, where it comes from, science behind its safety, And then when we introduce a new ingredient to a product, as in when a formula changes, the ingredient list is obviously on the package and it's updated immediately and then rolled out. And sometimes you can see it on a QR code on a package as well. Um, and then the second prong of that is product recalls. So we do something, and it's very rare that there is a product recall, but it happens, and sometimes we can't control why. But we have something called a voluntary recall process. So every single product we create has a batch code printed on the bottle or the box. And we immediately, if we find out about an issue with a product, we immediately first contact our retail partners. So Ulta, CVS, Walgreens, Sephora, Target, you name it, Amazon even, and we have that batch removed. And then we do customer outreach, so we can email from a brand site. You might have got an email once from Amazon, not from a L'Oreal product, but maybe I've got a couple of emails in my life from Amazon. I think one was for a battery pack, and the other was for, I think it was a tea tree shampoo thing that I got once for my dog that had a product recall. So it said, please don't use this again. It could be unsafe. We also launch press releases and stuff for product recalls. So that's how we let people know. Just looking at other questions. Duh, duh, duh. Let's have a look. Hold on. It might be for you, Erin. Hold on. Apologies. My phone is now deciding to freeze. It's about ethically sourcing. Erin, I don't know whether you can tell us a bit about how we ensure products are ethically sourced, or
Sure.
ingredients, sorry.
Sure. So we have really extensive guidelines and policies around what defines a sustainable sourcing, everything in terms of the renewable aspect, but then also elements that like you mentioned around yeah, fair wages and labor, and so all of that is screened extensively whenever we start to work with a partner, or we're interested in an ingredient, and we're also looking, not only at, the immediate partner, but often there's a supply chain associated with the end, raw material or ingredient. And so we're really looking, at that in-depth, full supply chain and ensuring that those partners are meeting it, kind of at every stage of, the process to create, the final ingredient that we put in our formula.
Thanks, Erin. Okay, I'm going to answer one more question, and I think we'll have to round up. Is that right, Jenny? And I'll ask like the fire questions at the end. Does that work for you? Okay, perfect. So the last question I will answer is, I saw a question on, are there any upcoming product launches or innovations that L'Oreal is especially excited about right now? And I'm going to answer that with a shameless sustainability plug and say refills. Please, if you ever see refills in the store, online, wherever you go, a majority of Hero L'Oreal products are going to have a refill component for you to use. So what you do is you buy the Hero SKU, whether that be a tub of CeraVe or a tub of Kiehl's or even a fragrance. Lots of our Prada SKUs have fragrance refills. Not that we all like buy fragrance all the time, but there's an opportunity, if you ever do, to buy refills. And that's what I'm excited about. And that's what's meaningful to us in sustainability, is trying to really push the ways that we can make sure there's less waste. And refills are a perfect opportunity for that. So please, girls, if you ever see, and I'm not even talking about just L'Oreal here, if you ever see a product out there that you like, please always look if there's a refill option and use it to try and save waste. Okay, so to round out, I'm going to ask each of us, I think, a personal question and we can close. And that is a question we saw in the chat, which is, and Brenna, will start with you, and that is, if you could give one piece, and I know, Brenna, you already sort of answered this, but to elaborate, if you could give one piece of advice to a young woman building something for themselves, what would it be?
In the chat, what I said for those who didn't see that response was, think about your boundaries and think about what matters most to you and how you can keep that at the center of your work. It's so easy, especially as women, as females, to lose sight of some of those boundaries, what really matters to you, and to think about how to keep that close and make sure that as you're building, you're staying true to yourself. That is one thing. The other thing I wanted to add was that you don't always have to be paid for the work that you are doing that is getting you towards what you want to do, that you want to be paid for. A lot of my career and the opportunities that I got came from work that I did in a volunteer capacity or work that I did as I was trying to learn something new. So I think it's don't wait to have all the experiences and the skills for the job that you're hoping to have as a career or to be paid for, but to be looking at how you can volunteer and how you can learn more in an unpaid role and count that just as valuably as you do the skills that you're building through your education and through internships, etc. It's still your time, and you are learning, and that will translate to the work that you eventually hope to be paid for.
Thank you. Sophia, I think you're there if you want to do an answer on
Yeah,
this, if
I'm
we can
here.
hear. Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course. I would say mine, I've been thinking about it, and I would just say mine is probably to lead with kindness and empathy. I think that all of us have a lot more going on than meets the eye. And I think a lot of us have seen people have bad days and good days. And I think this applies for wherever you are in life. If you're in the classroom, if you're in the workforce, I think that if you kind of come to the table and you just give people a bit more empathy and understanding, it can go a long way. And I think it can also help you. Um, Kind of feel better about situations as well, to know that maybe there's something going on that you're not seeing, or that people show up differently every day. And I think it's good to just give each other a little bit of grace and just spread kindness. So that's mine.
That's so lovely. I love that. And Erin, how about you?
I think from my side, I would say be curious and don't be afraid to, reach out, talk to people, ask questions. The example I can give is when I first started with college or university, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, and I thought maybe I'd do something more traditional, like work on the manufacturing side and building processes engineering. I didn't even know that consumer product, development existed as a job, and I think I only really found that out through yeah, talking to people, reaching out. And I think I found, sometimes I'm the kind of person who I might be a little, shy, if it's somebody I don't know, but I found like really positive response. I think people are usually generally super open and welcoming to, answer questions and, talk about, themselves. So yeah, I just encourage you to keep doing that because I think it's helped me a lot in my career.
That's true. And to echo on that, Erin, I had no idea what I wanted to do when I started out in my career. I applied to various internships and I didn't get them. And then so I decided, okay, I'm just going to temp at places because they didn't ask, there wasn't such a rigorous interview process. And I actually first started temping at the government and at Disney. And when I was temped at Disney, I met the right people there that I happened to find and make the right connections to get into the the professional world. And I honestly didn't think it could happen for me because I had so many, rejections initially, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I'm a sort of outward thinker and speaker, and when I speak and when I do things, I start to realize my ideas and what I want to do. And I think I would just say, and in terms of my best advice, I'd even give it to my younger self is that see a no or a rejection as a not yet, as opposed to a full no, and don't let it knock you down. I think you can hear no many times in life, and you initially think things may be not easy or impossible, but it's just a no is data. It's just feedback telling you to try again, refine your idea, try something different. And that's always what I did in my career is I try to jump and do get lots of experience temping in different places until I found sustainability. I happened upon it, and then I tried to hone that because it meant something something to me. It was really meaningful to me, and I fell into this path as opposed to um, started into this path. And I think that's the advice that I would give. You don't have to know yet what you want to do, or maybe you do want to know, and that both are great. And it's been, sorry, I'll end there, but it's a pleasure to speak to you all. And thank you for all your engagement and your questions. We've had so much fun teaching about sustainability, and this has been my favorite thing I've done this year. So thank you all for having us. And I think we can close there.
Perfect. Thank you all so much. I mean, I think you inspired so many young women to not only think about careers and sustainability, but also like this product, everything that you just talked about. I think refills are an amazing idea. So congratulations. And to everyone on the call, Danielle will send out a recap email, but we also have all of our panelists and Shannon's LinkedIn profiles on there. So we highly encourage you to connect with everyone, to start building, ask your questions. And that's what these Empower Hours are all about, is bringing everyone together and inspiring you to do what's next. So thank you all so much. And we will see you at our next Empower Hour. So check the calendar, but it's going to be on June 9th, again with L'Oreal. So thank you all so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.